Good morning. My name is Dixie Wicker, and I'm a member of El Paso County Master Gardener Association. And with me today is Helen Abresch. She's also a member of El Paso Master Gardeners Association, and she's going to tell you about the fun that we're going to have here today.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Dixie. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself first before we start. I became a Master Gardener in 2012 and have enjoyed every bit of my experiences with this great organization. I'd just like to tell you that, to share with you a little bit about myself, and I've been growing iris since I was a little girl. One day my mom handed me a bag full of dried up old rhizomes and said, go plant these. She had 5 children and didn't have time. So I went out to the side yard and I dug some holes and I put them in the shape of an H because that's my name, Helen. And of course they didn't grow that way. They grew into a big blob of iris, but that was my first experience with this very wonderful plant that we're going to talk about today. These are the different types of iris that you may be interested in planting. The more types of iris that you plant, the more bloom that you get throughout the spring and summer. We start with the reticulata iris, which is a very small bulbous iris that blooms probably in early February to March, and then goes all the way up to the Spuria iris, which probably blooms towards the end of May, even into June sometimes. So if you plant all of these different varieties, you can have a lot of spring to summer color in your yard. Today we're going to talk about dividing iris, and iris can get very overgrown, and they often do if you leave them too long in the ground. Every 2 to 5 years is a good time to separate your iris rhizomes. I'm going to show you a little tool that I use is the pitchfork. The pitchfork is a great tool for lifting the iris out of the ground. Make sure that when you insert it that you miss the rhizome. You don't want to poke your rhizome. And then just gently lift up. And if you need to cut some roots, you can use a shovel to do that. Dixie is pulling them out, and that's pretty much the way we like to have them. Woohoo! That's a good. Okay, just shake them off.
Okay, and then I'm going to show you about rinsing them.
More.
Okay. Oh, I broke it, darn it.
And you want to try to make sure that you get as much all of the foliage with the rhizome, because that's how you're going to know where your rhizome is.
Here, I got another one.
Iris are not bulbs; they are a they grow from rhizomes, and the rhizome is a great storage facility for proteins and food for the plant.
Okay, come around so the microphone.
Okay, we've got a pretty good assortment.
Now, after you remove them from a pot or the ground, and you need to do a couple of things. The first thing is you need to rinse them, and we want to shake them off, and probably a hose is better than what I've got here today. But I just, to save time, I just got a bucket of water over here, and I've got a brush here to sort of clean them. Although we're going to trim them, we're going to show you about that. in just a minute. Man, that water's dirty, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, it's much
they're
better
pretty-
to have
but
a hose.
with a sprayer on the end. You
Yeah.
just spray all that dirt off, and that works really well.
Yeah, we're gonna
So-
have to clean them again after we trim them, don't you think?
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to, when you start dividing an iris, you're going to look to see where you have some new growth. And this is the old growth here. You can see that there's a few little nodules there on the side, but really for the sake of having a good vigorous iris plant patch, you don't want this. Okay, so here I have this isn't a great big sized iris. This is a better size
one, yeah.
You want to choose large rhizomes that will give you good bloom in the spring. The smaller rhizomes will bloom but not for another couple of years.
It takes them longer. So Iris, Helen, this one, should I leave the whole rhizome and then just
Yes.
trim the
Yes.
roots? These are the roots down here, so I'm going to trim them off.
And what I like to do is just hold it with your fist and then trim off everything below your fist. And the same with,
Where do you hold it?
you hold it like
Oh,
right
like
there.
that. Oh, okay. All right.
But I mean, you got the same result with what you
Okay.
did.
Okay, but-
So, and then you're going to trim the top part because this will all die away anyway. You can trim them straight across
Or in a V, right?
or in a V.
Yeah. Helen, tell us if irises ever get any diseases, because we're always worried about the diseases that they
Right.
can get.
And there are some different things that will attack iris, and sometimes critters will nibble on them. And after you've finished washing your iris, you want to inspect the rhizome carefully to see that you don't have any diseases going on here. The most prevalent disease that is particular to iris is nematodes. And some of you that grow tomatoes may know that nematodes can affect the plant and really mess things up badly. They are what you would look for on the roots of the iris are little lumps or big lumps and clumps and just malformed roots. These are nice straight roots. They look good, no problem. But if you had big clumps and just lots of nasty looking stuff going on there, you would have to probably take off all of the roots. You would trim them all off and put them in a bleach solution of 1 part bleach to 4 parts water and soak them in that for a while, and that will help to alleviate the problem. You would not plant it back in the same area that you took it from. You can go on to the Texas A&M website and type in nematodes, and you'll get a lot of great information on how to deal with that horrible pest. Also, you would look for any kind of rotten or spongy type material in the iris, and you'd want to cut that off completely. And again, you can put that in a bleach solution to stop that process.
Sterilize.
Yes. So,
Helen, is it ever bad to get the rhizome too small?
no, I mean, this one actually can come off.
More
Yes,
can come off.
more can come off because nothing's going to grow from that area. They grow from the sides and from the back. So you don't really want a long
one. Okay.
Yes. They do grow horizontally, as I said before. Another pest that I had no idea would go after an iris is deer. When I planted some iris in a pot up where my deer usually come to lay down, they'd never bothered the iris when they were in the ground. But when the new growth started coming up, they started eating on it. So be careful where you plant your iris. Dixie likes the V. So it's all on your personal preference.
Yeah.
So
So you can do it straight across or like this. All right,
And-
Helen, how many should we do?
let's
3 or
do
4?
3 or 4.
Okay.
And today we're going to plant in a pot just for expedience. Dixie has a nice pot prepared for us. In your pot, at the bottom of your pot, you're going to want to put a piece of wire, or a lot of people put screens.
What'd you do with that?
Our screen is gone. Oh shoot, it's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, a piece of screening just in the bottom of the pot will make a great way to keep the soil in and to keep other plants out. If you put this pot into a flower bed that has other invasive plants, they will come in and take over. But anyway, so we're going to put these iris in toe to toe, which this is the toe of the iris. This is the heel of the iris, the back of the iris. For the sake of putting them in a pot, you're going to want to, this one needs to be trimmed.
Yeah.
That one didn't make the cut. You're going to want to put them toe to toe. You'll have an instant clump effect, and it'll make a really nice. Now we don't have as much soil as we would usually start with. We would put these like this, toe to toe. And then you would cover them with about an inch of dirt, of soil.
Here's one more.
Okay,
Is
one
it
more.
too late?
No, we'll get him in there. This is not the depth of soil that we need. We need deeper soil.
Yeah,
So we're just
yeah.
doing this as a
Example, but
example, right?
we
So we're going to put them like this.
And
They're
then
going to
one-
grow outward this way. Okay, so they're going to make a nice little clump. Their roots can get pretty deep, so Dixie's going to have to check this next year to make sure that they're not getting too. They might be getting too root bound by the.
okay.
So iris grow horizontally, not vertically. They're not going to grow down. They're going to grow out.
Okay, and let me just add, if you do it in the ground or in a pot, you put about a 1/2 to 1 inch over
Of soil, that's right.
soil over it.
That's right.
And use, although I think that iris are pretty hardy, but try to use a mixture of good soil.
Good. Especially if you're putting it in a pot, you'll need better soil. But if you're putting them in the ground, iris are very forgiving of poor soil. So you'd probably like to, if you have sandy soil, you'd like to add some organic material to that. If you have clay soil, you'd want to put maybe gypsum is a good filler, or some sand, and make it easier for them to penetrate through that ground.
All right, watering, let me just add that in the winter, once it turns cold, they will be dormant, but you still need to water them perhaps once a week. And then in the spring, when you notice growth on them, you should water them 2 to 3 times, just when they feel dry, depending upon how hot it is, but 2 to 3 times a week.
And placement of your iris is very important. It's all about location, location, location. They love to be in a sunny area. In the desert Southwest, we can actually have a little bit of filtered shade in the afternoon, and they appreciate that. But overall, the iris really like to be in a sunny area, and in an area that has good drainage. That's really important. You will find rotted iris if you have them in a wet standing place. Because of this, I pulled this out, but because of this rhizome here will hold water, it will hold nutrients, and it is a good storage place for nutrients for the plant. Okay, so don't let it be too wet.
What about fertilizer?
Fertilizer is important in the spring and in the fall, and you want to not the words the initials NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, stand for those 3 numbers that you find at the bottom with our dirty fingers, that you find at the bottom of your plant food. This is a good one for bloom because it has a high middle number, which is the phosphorus part. The for an iris, you don't need a lot of nitrogen. You don't, I mean, yes, you want to have pretty looking foliage, but you don't want all the energy of the plant going into a lush foliage and then no bloom, because the whole goal in growing irises is to have nice bloom.
Beautiful flowers.
Yes, and after your iris bloom, you want to cut off the bloom stalk at this poor guy keeps getting pulled out. Cut out the bloom stalk will come from here, and you'll want to cut it right as close to the rhizome as you can get. That will make sure that the plant can recover from blooming, and will start putting off new rhizomes from the sides and from the back of the plant. Okay, so that's really important to remember, that you cut those bloom stalks off. You can also take off the dead foliage as it occurs, because it's not doing the plant any good, and it doesn't look very good. So.
All right, you want to tell them a little bit about the Iris Society?
Yes, that's a great idea. Mesilla Valley Iris Society in Las Cruces, New Mexico is having a rhizome sale. So if you are having a hard time finding rhizomes in your local nurseries or big box stores, this is the perfect way to get some great sized irises at great prices. The Mesilla Valley Iris Society will have their annual rhizome sale September 10th and 11th at the Mesilla Valley Mall. You'll have to check the website to find out the times for those.
The 10th and the 11th.
10th and the 11th.
Is that a Saturday and a
Saturday,
Sunday?
a Friday and a Saturday.
Friday and Saturday.
I think it's Friday and Saturday. And then in the spring of 2022, the National Iris Society will be having their national convention in Las Cruces, New Mexico. This is a perfect time for you to see many different types of iris growing, and growing locally, so you can find out the best ones to grow here in our desert Southwest.
Very good. I'm excited about the September 10th and 11th, because hopefully we can buy some of these varieties.
Hopefully, yeah. For sure, they'll have tall bearded. That's the most popular growing iris, and because we live here in the Southwest in the desert, we have a lot of aril and aril bred grown, and those are they're hybridized between a tall bearded and an aril iris from the Middle East. So
Helen, should they have all these varieties in Las Cruces on the 10th?
They will probably have some, but not all.
Not all.
Some of them are not easily dug, and they're a little bit harder to grow here, but you can certainly try anything. You can get catalogs, you can send away from catalogs, look online for iris growers and get catalogs, and you can find many of the different kinds of iris through there. So.
Okay. Well, Helen, thank you so much. I have learned so much. I'm going to become an iris grower.
An irisarian, that's what they call that.
Okay, yes, I'm going to add that to my repertoire, because it looks like they're very easy, and the blooms I know are beautiful, because I've seen my next door neighbors. I haven't ever had any, but I will have some in the spring. All right. Anyway, this is another El Paso County Master Gardener presentation that we are happy to do on irises today. And here are all the ways that you can contact us. We have 4 gardens that we have where we grow stuff or take care. They are AgriLife, AgriLife Garden, way out east off of Joe Battle. The Rose Garden, we share taking care of that with the city. We take care of the Xeriscape Garden out at AgriLife as well. And then we also have our wonderful Ascarity Demonstration Teaching Garden. So those 4 gardens are wonderful and that we maintain. Thank you.
Thank you so much.